I'm Howard Sands. I live in Templeton here. I'm a member of the Historical Society. And today I brought a plane collection of planes made from makers in central Massachusetts. When I was growing up, I grew up down in Woodstock, Connecticut. And my neighbor across the road was William Grazier. And he was a handlebarred, very elderly guy when I was little. And he had a workshop that had no power tools. He had light bulbs in it, but everything was done by hand. So one of my brothers and I just loved going in there, and we'd putter around in there. And he'd make things like those one-piece pliers out of wood. You know how you would make that, but he could do things like that. So that got me started, and he never had any children. He and his wife never had children. My dad ended up inheriting his collection, gave it to him. And my dad already had a collection because his father was a carpenter. So then my dad passed away and I ended up with his collection. And by then I was adding to my own as well. None of my brothers wanted it, so I ended up with his collection. So I've added to it because I buy and sell antique tools, and I'm always adding to it and taking away. When I find something better, I'll keep that and sell the other thing or whatever, So over the course of time, I have over 600 molding planes, wooden planes. I have a recipe of a product that I use to clean the planes with fine steel wool, but I don't go crazy. Case in point, this plane here is a jack plane, and it was made by Uriah Clapp. Uriah Clapp made planes down in Oakham in the late 1700s and early 1800s. And then about 1820 or so, he moved to Gardner, and he was a cabinet maker in Gardner. So I really don't know if he made the planes in Gardner or if he made them down in Oakham, where he started out as a plane maker. But this plane, the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is someone a long time ago scraped all the patina off of this plane and then put polyurethane over it. As a historical object, that was a big no-no. And the only reason I bought this is because there's only about 20 or so Uriah Clapp planes existing. On the other hand, this is a Yankee plow plane, also made by Uriah Clapp. And this is in original condition. Cleaned, but just left with its age on it. And that the value is in this plane. That plane, the only value is the fact that it was made by Uriah Clapp and his signatures on the front of that plane. The Industrial Revolution, especially, they started making planes of metal just before the Civil War. But then after the Civil War, then there were very well-established makers of tools that started making planes, like Stanley planes, you've probably heard of. Well, that was a big Bailey and Stanley. And then later on, you have Miller's Falls also. I had to put this in because this was made in central Massachusetts in Miller's Falls. It's a Miller's Falls, about a number 4 size smoothing plane. So that's why I added this in, even though it wasn't wooden, except for the handles. But it was made in central Massachusetts, so put that in. But as they become more industrialized, the styles change too. As an example, here are 2 planes that were made about the mid-1700s. And they're very fancy. As you look at the way they were made, they were very well made. The craftsman really took pride in his work. Because these planes, the blades typically are not interchangeable except for the plow plane. These plow planes, this set of blades would go to this plow plane, and they would range from about a 1/16 of an inch up to about 7/8 of an inch. After 7/8 of an inch, it's almost impossible to plow. Just the amount of pressure required to push that thing. That's why you have some of these larger planes you'll find a hole in the front of the plane where they either put a stick or a stick and a rope, and the person would be plowing whatever they wanted molding, and they'd have their apprentice pulling it with a rope, because they just couldn't do it by themselves. He researched basically the industrialization and experimentation of using planes for different things, different applications, and there were a lot of people after the Civil War, especially, making planes for just about any application. Anything from leather work to woodwork, the plane would be required. And he did an extensive amount of research on those planes and who made them, how they were used, how they were made. And these books are still considered, at least by me anyways, as kind of a Bible for researching planes.
Collector Time is made possible with generous donations by Central Mass Metal Detectors, rediscovering the past to preserve for the future. Find us on Facebook. And Tangway Jewelers, 19 Connor Street in Gardner, serving the area since 1976.